sim user.
And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say there. Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
Yo, YouTube, what's up? This is Logan Oren, aka The Troll for Truth. Today, I want to talk about who is the real SimStandard. Won't the real SimStandard please stand up? The sim community is made up of many different kinds of gamers, but ultimately the common thing that ties us all together is the desire and the love for simulation games and that drive to have the best simulation product available to us all. So, who is it that the sim gamer can go to get the most accurate information and knowledgeable reviews? There are a lot of different outlets that we can go to. We've got the Simheads United, we've got JMusic, Ryan Moody, even Apex still offers his analytical expertise. But it wasn't always that way. There used to be like this central hub where the sim movement was together. There was a group that you could go to that took a stance on exposing that lack of innovation and improvements that that were in the sports gaming industry. And if you didn't have the time to keep up with everything, like reading articles and finding everything new, you had somewhere to go to get caught up. Now, the sim movement is exactly what we call it, a movement. And there are many different players in the game. I liken the struggle that sim gamers have been through with the civil rights movement. Not because of the severity of the causes, but because of the players of the game. And at no way at all can I necessarily liken the cause of the civil rights movement to the sim game community or the sim game movement, because they're completely different. But the movement in itself, the players within the movement, I think are very, very similar. When I first heard of the SimStandard, I didn't know that people made videos about video games. I was late coming into the acknowledgement of YouTube. And, I knew that there were some videos that I could see, but I didn't know exactly the extent of what you could get out of YouTube. So when I first heard that there were people who were making videos about videos and reviews about video games and about Madden, I was shocked. I mean, and not was I shocked about, not was I only shocked about the fact that people were making these games about this, I also was shocked that I wasn't alone. Now, I've had issues with Madden for a long time, and I won't say with EA, but it's pretty much been with Madden. I've had issues with them for a long time, and I felt that it was getting stagnant very, very quickly. So I felt like I was alone. I would talk to my brother, and my brother would dismiss the lack of change and lack of innovation that would happen, and I really thought that I was alone. And I thought, is something wrong with me? Am I the one that's looking at this at Madden and how it's stagnant? And is it me? And so when I saw that there were people who felt the same way, I mean, I felt a little moved. I mean, I just thought that that this is what I've been looking for quite a while. There's finally a community where I can express my feelings and my opinion, and not really express my opinions, because that's not really what I really wanted to do. But I just wanted to know that there were other people out there, and I wanted to find out if if I was the only one who wanted to be down, the throats of EA and telling them, look, this needs to change. And, I've always had the feeling that one man can't make a difference. I've always thought that way. So I didn't really think that I could really do anything on my own. So to have this whole community to have the same idea that I had, or have the same feelings that I had, was refreshing, because then finding out that how big it was, that there was this huge movement, I began to feel a little bit more hopeful, for the future of football gaming. Now let's rewind this back to when I said that the sim movement reminds me a lot of the civil rights movement. And I'm not comparing the causes that they were fighting for. I'm comparing the players in the movement and how they fought for a cause. And when I look at the two and side by side, I see a lot of the Black Panthers in the SimHead United stance and the SimStandard. So when I first heard of the SimStandard, when I first saw their videos and saw what their stance was and saw their passion, this is what I saw.
So, Huey, so what's your telephone number?
Well, I confirm with you my address. That's all I'm required by California law to do. We ain't broken no law.
Then what are you doing with that gun?
Well, what are you doing with yours?
Let me see that rifle, son.
No. This is my private property. According to California law, we got a constitutional right to bear arms.
What?
Okay, move along. Go on about your business.
Wait, brothers and sisters, no. You ain't got to go nowhere. This is your business. Stay right here. The law says, as long as you stand a reasonable distance, that's 8 to 10 feet to be exact, you got a right to observe the police carrying out their duties. From what I can see, you're standing 22 feet away from this man. So, brothers, ain't no law being broken.
That's right. You stay right where you are. You ain't got to go nowhere.
Tip her program. Learn about the Black Panther Party.
Is that gun loaded, boy?
Fish and game law clearly states it's unlawful to carry a live round of ammunition in the chamber of a shotgun or rifle in a vehicle. Pig.
Refer to him as officer. Then don't you refer to him as boy.
Well, is it loaded?
I tell you, officer, it wasn't, but now it is.
Who is a badass nigga? Now, for the last time, boys, what do those guns mean?
They mean, pig, that the Black Panther Party declares you try to brutalize our community, you try to take our weapons. We'll shoot you, man.
Back.
Jesus, I think I'm a dang gone to heaven.
That's what I looked at. When I saw the SimStandard, that's who they were to me. And I was that guy, that person in the background, like, I feel like I had died and gone to heaven. That's the way I felt. I mean, I didn't really feel like, I had died and gone to heaven, but, I felt like finally, there's a group of people that are speaking out. A group of people that feel the same way as I am, and they were these guys that went hard. I mean, they were tough on the issues, and they took their stance, and they didn't budge. You never saw the SimStandard as a whole budge from what they believed. Now you had maybe a couple of guys that they kind of sympathized with EA, and like I posted as a comment one time, versus when he left the SimStandards, one of his videos that he put out, it wasn't he didn't put it out on the SimStandard, but he put it out on his own channel. One of the reasons why he left or why he was just fed up with the SimStandard, and that he was gone, was because he was too easy on them, it was that he wasn't willing to bash EA just to bash them. And so the SimStandard at one point was completely anti-EA, regardless. But after a while, the SimStandard wasn't that group anymore. They didn't have that fire that the Black Panthers had. That clip that you saw, they turned from that. And this is what we ended up with.
Greetings, African brothers from across the bay. We understand you would like to assist us with Sister Betty Shabazz security.
That's right. We'd be proud to provide escort for Sister Shabazz. How many men, how many guns you got?
Get the brothers some libation. Me too while you at it. Men, Brother Dewey?
Huey. No, thank you, sister.
Yeah, Louis. You know what I'm saying, brother. We as a revolutionary vanguard are serious with our shit. I assure you that Brother Lombard here and our other brothers will rise to the occasion in full effect. Just make sure you're on time. We'll be prepared. Right, Mama Lombard?
Uhura, Wambasa, Simba, freedom and work, lion. Umoja brothers.
Man, those orangutan-looking armchair revolutionaries ain't fit for the name Panthers.
Right now, we need to be ready to protect Betty Shabazz because them brothers sure as hell can't.
After a while, this is what we ended up with. This is what the SimStandard turned into. Now, they had the present, they had the look of the movement, and they had the reputation of what the movement was all about. But you could tell by the words that they were no longer in the same movement, or at least they were no longer in the same level. They did not take the same stance anymore, and you could tell just from what they said and how they said things and their actions. You could tell that they were not the same anymore. Just like you could see the Black Panthers could sniff out those phonies. They knew that they were a joke. They knew that they weren't who they really said that they were. The Simheads, the real Simheads, they hear it. They hear the movement and the cries of the movement when they hear it. And what we've been hearing from the SimStandard, it's not what the original stance was. We might get some whimpers, but we don't get the cry. But what we do hear from the SimStandard is we hear, I guess, a group that think about a woman, and what is one of the things that a woman will tell you that they want? They just want someone to listen. They don't want anything fixed. They don't want problem solved. They just want someone to listen. And when they do get that person to listen, that man or that woman or that, child, when they do get that person to listen, they feel better. Is the problem solved? No, but they feel better. And I liken that to what the SimStandard is now. They're that woman that just wanted someone to hear them. And you can hear it or see that in their videos. They're always saying they finally listen. The devs are finally listening to what the community has to say, or to what we have to say. That's that woman that just wants to be heard. A man, on the other hand, is not like that. A man is not, they don't care so much that someone hears. What they want is they want problems solved. They want the situation taken care of. They're not going to care if you're hearing them, and then you start making a little bit, a few changes here and there. They want the problem taken care of, and they're going to do what's necessary to rectify the situation. So if you take that man mentality and put it into this situation, a man is going to basically say, all right, you're not going to give us what we want, then I'm dropping you. Yeah, you may throw me a little bone here and there. You may change some stuff, but you're not fixing the problem. And a man will just drop it. If they can't fix it, they're not going to sit around sniffing around to see if you'll get it together. No, men want the problem solved. And the SimStandard has become pacified. EA pacified the SimStandard. And when you look at why the SimStandard is getting a lot of flack, now, they may try to throw it on all the people who are just EA haters, and that they are not being irrational, that they're not being rational, and they're just wanting to hate EA just because they hate EA. And I'm sorry, but the reason why the SimStandard is getting a lot of flack, the reason why they're getting a lot of flack is because of that group of fake Panthers that they are now. Because that's the image that we get from them. One, they talked. It was talking about, it's really not an issue of what you can't say. The guy made an argument saying that, now you can't say anything, and then, someone, refuted that. But no, it's not an issue of what you can't say. It's the fact that it's what you don't say. You're not saying anything anymore. I mean, let me retract that. Yeah, you're coming out with some videos, but your critiques are, your critiques are but a minute, pathetic shell of what they used to be. You're barely coming out with videos. Before, the SimStandard was just knocking out videos all the time. And every time, I loaded on or booted up YouTube, there was a new video by the SimStandard. So you telling me that this game is so on point that you put out just a few videos? I look back at your history, the videos, and you guys took a lot of videos off. I mean, it goes back to like 2010. I know you guys were making videos before 2010. I know the SimStandard was around before that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know there are a lot of videos that I don't see up there anymore. Why are they gone? We're reacting by what we see, and we don't see the same stance anymore. We only see what a politician would do when they're trying to be politically correct. When they want to, you want to act like, that you're still with the movement, or you're still for that cause, and you'll say a few things. You'll give a few negative things about what's wrong with something. But that's it. But you don't touch the core of it. And even when you do talk about the core of the problems, it's you don't even spend time on it. It's like you say it and then you move on. So even when you do, talk about the core, it doesn't feel like it feels like it's not even a problem anymore. And that's why, I wonder why the SimStandard is not putting out the amount of videos, the amount of critiques that they used to in the past. I mean, if you can really say whatever you want, then why aren't we getting more videos? And you said, you did say that all of you guys could agree that they still haven't they still haven't situated or solve the issue with pass blocking, O-line de-interaction, DB coverage. If they haven't covered, if they still have not tackled that stuff yet, why are you still sniffing around? They apparently still don't have this product to where where the community wants it to be, where the simhead community wants it to be. So you should be able to go and tell them whatever you want, and you say you do, but one, you need to cut out this unprofessional garbage, because you aren't on the EA payroll. At least you say that you aren't. You don't work for them. You're supposed to be a representative to the simhead community, or to the simulation community. Not for EA. You're not a representative of EA. So you should be able to come and say to them whatever you want. And so when you sit there and you say that, we're not getting paid, or, things like that, we have to question. Are you really? Because you should be able, because we don't hear it. We don't hear the same stance. We don't hear the same passion. It's like I said before, you guys have been pacified. I understand not being rude, but you should be able to tell them whatever. And you know what? You said, what, should you have to hit them over the head when they don't listen? You tell them this, and they're not fixing it? Why are you still there? Why are you a game changer? If you're sitting here telling them these things, and they're still going to do whatever they want to do, and they're not fixing it, what's your purpose? What is your purpose as a game changer? And then you're like, is Madden 10 the same as Madden 13? Come on, man. Get real. You try to trip him up by asking, is the game the same? Of course, the game is not the same. Have there been changes, slight improvements made to the game? Yes, there have. But it's not the same. It's still not simulation. Still not simulation quality to what the sim movement wants. It's not at that point. If you look at an adultery, somebody who's cheating on their spouse, they're still a cheater. EA is still putting out garbage product. They're still putting out an unfinished product that's not to the standard of what we ask for and what you've asked for. So yeah, they are a cheater. They're like that cheater. So if that cheater cuts back on his on how many times they cheat, let's say they go from, hooking up with 10 different people to 2 different people, that's improvement. But are they still a cheater? Yes, they are. Have they solved the problem? No, they haven't. So the issue comes to, why are you still sniffing around EA when they are not correcting the problem? And if you really think that they don't have the ability to make these changes in a shorter amount of time, then you guys might be more ignorant than we think that you are. And if I'm saying hard, and if that sounds harsh or disrespectful, I apologize. But I can't be more truthful than that. There's no reason in the world why anybody with any kind of common sense would know that this group, or that this company, does not have the ability or the technology to fix these issues right now. But then again, they may not. They may not have the ability, because we see, we see where EA has been going, and they've been going down, down the tubes, especially with their sports games. Should we even, do we even want to trust them trying to get it together with Madden? Because we already see the direction that Live went. We already see what the direction that basketball went in with EA. But that's not what they want to do. I think back to when I first bought my iPad. It was the first generation iPad. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching Steve Jobs introduce this iPad. And I'm like, this is pretty nice. And as I'm watching him, I see that he's walking around, he's carrying his iPad, and everything that he's doing, it's showing on the screen in the background. So I'm like, wow, this thing, and also when I look, I see that he is doing it, and there are no wires connecting from his iPad to the screen or to anything. And I'm looking and thinking, wow, this thing wirelessly projects, a mirror image of what he's doing on his iPad onto a screen. I'm like, this is perfect. This is a perfect tool for me to use in my classroom. So I buy it. I buy it. And I know it's partially my fault because I didn't do my, I didn't do enough homework. As a consumer, I didn't do enough homework, and I should have known beforehand that it didn't have that capability. But I bought it. I even sold my motorcycle so I could have enough money to buy it. And I find out, and it does not have any mirror imaging capability. And it definitely, of course, definitely didn't have the ability to do anything wirelessly. I mean, it did have, some abilities to do some things, but as far as to mirror image or to show a mirror image of what you're doing on your iPad, it didn't have that. And I was ticked off. But what do they have? Lo and behold, the next year, I also thought that, that it was stupid that it didn't have a camera. I'm like, are you serious? An iPod has a camera. An iPod Touch has a camera. An iPhone has a camera. But this new device this new tablet that they put out doesn't have a camera. And what happens the next year with the second generation version? It has both a camera and the ability to mirror, to have the mirror image of what you're doing on your iPad to be wirelessly projected onto a screen. So you're saying they didn't have that technology, that capability to do it the year before? Of course they did, because I sat there and saw Steve Jobs do it. they just sat there and they nickel and dime everybody by selling you a inferior product the first year, and then the next year, then they started adding more things to it. They started adding the things that they could have added before, but you know, if they put it in the first model, then maybe people wouldn't want to buy the next one. And I know that, and that's what companies do. But EA has shown that they're that type of company. And if they are like that, then I don't want to mess with them. I don't want any part of them. I ask that, you know, look, SimStandard, if they still do not have the product, the game, to a equal or better quality as NFL 2K, then if they don't have it yet, why are you messing around with them? If you can go in there and tell them that you think that it should be like this, and they don't do it, and they don't listen, why are you still messing around with them? Because it is pointless. Your role is pointless if they're not listening. And apparently, the community, you say that the community is just a minority. Apparently, the community is big enough themselves because they did come after you guys to, you know, to be a part of this group. Apparently, they felt like they needed to get you on board. So don't say that we're so much, you know, such a small percentage of the community. Otherwise, they wouldn't care what you had to say. You would still be putting up videos bashing EA, and they would just dismiss you. You'd still be whining about the devs not hearing you and them not listening, which is pretty much what they're not doing. They're still not listening, and they're hearing you, and they're doing damage control so that they don't lose more people, so that they're not losing more units. That's why they came after the SimStandard, because they were losing units, and they had to take care of it. We as a community have to completely get it together, and we have to take care of business.